everyone, I'm SurrealBeliefs, and we're going to play the historical battle of Teutoburg Forest, where I'll be playing the legendary difficulty. We're going to jump right into it. My goal is to overall save all 3 Eagle cohorts, which should be quite interesting, and I'll be going over a little bit of the history of this battle too, and what happened, and who were the major players as well. So here we are, we're beginning right now, and as you can see, I have to move quickly. If not, we will die. And so, the Battle of Teutoburg Forest occurred in the fall of 9 AD. There was this fellow called Arminius. Now, he was not Roman by natural birth. He was actually taken from his own tribe by the Romans as a hostage. And so, the commander of this battle would have actually been a fellow called Varus. And he was chosen to lead a province, or the province of Germania. He was appointed as a governor, and that was by a family member, and that fellow, you might know him, he was the Emperor Augustus, the great Augustus. And so, Varus brought with him 3 legions, the 17th, 18th, and 19th, in addition to 3 cavalry detachments and 6 cohorts of auxiliaries. Now, clearly, we don't have all of that here in terms of number, but I believe the cohorts are meant to represent those legions. And so, in this battle here, we are surrounded by several tribes, not just actually one tribe. We are surrounded by several tribes who have been joined together by Arminius. Now, let's see. He was the son of a Etruscan chief, and please forgive me if I don't pronounce all of these names correctly. They're pretty old names. But yes, he was held hostage by the Romans with his brother, and he was given a military education, and so they taught him how to fight, they taught him how to lead, and, well, he kind of put that to use overall. And so he even became a Roman citizen and also became a lesser noble in their ranks. And so that means that I believe he would have been a equites. Now, once again, if I'm incorrect on anything, please let me know. I'm just trying to go off of what I can remember and things that I may have taken down as notes to share with all of you. It's a bit funny. I probably used to know more about Roman history when I was young than I do now. It's just been so long. I guess it goes with that saying, I have forgotten more than I know now. Anyway. But yeah, so this manner of hostage taking was very popular in Roman times, because at that point they would have a bargaining chip with these foreign tribes, and they were able to create these client states by raising the sons of nobles into, well, a Roman. And I mean, sometimes, yeah, these people would be like, hey, the Roman life is great, but in the case of Arminius, I guess he felt more of a link with his homeland, which is a bit interesting considering he spent more of his life in the Roman lands up until this point, and then he came back home and he was like, hey, you know what, I missed my people. But yeah, so Varus in this fight actually would lose his entire army, and would later commit suicide by falling on his own sword, and by his whole army, that means all 3 legions would be destroyed. And he would lose a total, or close to, or over 20,000 men in this fight here. I mean, that is astronomical. That is so many lives that I can't even picture. That many dead men all just here. And so what Arminius did, and I'll be jumping a bit back and forth, he told Varus that there was a rebellion happening in northern Germany, which of course this was not true, and he was able to rally up many tribes to come help him. And so all 3 standards of these legions were lost, and that was a big no-no when it came to the legions. You were not supposed to lose your standard. That was a huge representation of the pride of Rome. But they would be recovered over time, which would prove how far Rome would go in order to take these back. I believe one was taken back in 15 AD, another one in 16, and then the final one in 41 AD by a Roman leader called Publius Gabinius, or Gabinius, under the Emperor Claudius. And so they were all recovered at some point, but still, that was quite a heavy loss. And after this grave battle here, Rome, as a nation, as a empire, would still try to fight in these lands. They still tried to make their claims here. However, for the most part, they kept their line at the Rhine, and I didn't mean to rhyme that, so anyway, so they usually kept their forts and all of their large cities at the Rhine, and that's where they would trade with these tribes. But going so far north proved to be very costly, but I guess you could argue too that it wasn't worth their time. Whereas in Gaul, by the time they conquered these lands, there were many large towns, and many were lined up at the Rhine, which of course was thanks to Rome too, but still, there were many large towns, and I guess the Gauls were a bit more organized than they were in Germania. And see here, we've made it up to this point where we have evacuated quite a few of our forces. I had to sacrifice a few here and there, but that's just part of the process. Alright. It doesn't get any better. Arminius. Look at him. He's like, what? No, it can't be. You were my son. No, it's not his son. Oh, that's lovely. So he's leaving us. How lovely is that? But yes, it could be said that this region was not worth the time because of how long and how hard it was to get people up here. Not only people, but food and everything else that they would need, whereas they could go up from the Rhine down to the Mediterranean. And when you're able to do that, man, that speeds things up so much. Alright, so here we are. We're still surrounded. We've managed to save a large portion of our forces. I'm sorry, but if you're a auxiliary in my army, you're not going to make it very far. But our goal is to try to save all 3 Eagle cohorts, and we're getting very close to achieving that goal, thankfully. So here we go. Now let's look over here. Varus is leading off quite a few of their forces. I suppose that Arminius really wants them dead. Oh dear, this is going to be lovely. Alright, so we're moving on up. Now, my legionary cohorts, I do want to live. However, that's not part of our objective, so I will sacrifice them if needed. Well, we're getting a little bit further now. So let's keep looking. I mean, all in all, we are not meant to win this battle. We're just trying to save our 3 cohorts, and I find it interesting that they chose to go down a, I guess, a bit of a what-if situation. They did manage to save a few men. Oh boy. And in this case, it was really a different battle for me to fight, just because I wasn't meant to win. I was meant to escape, and I've never really had to do something like that, but I thought it was pretty neat, though. I mean, I had to be all over the map, and if you've been watching this here, I mean, I've really been all over the map, trying to micromanage, trying to get from point A to point B quickly. Oh, great. It gets worse, huh? Oh, well. It looks like we will be alright. Maybe. If we can outrun these guys. Who knows who else will have to die. But yeah, so Arminius was able to gather many of the tribes over in Germania. And so it wasn't just his tribe here. Alright, let's keep on moving now. We're almost there. I mean, look at how close we are, and it makes my heart beat just to know how scary this whole fight was. I mean, goodness, I had to move so fast. But we're almost there, thankfully. Now we're being fired at in the woods, which is unfortunate, but still. A little bit further to go, and we will be there. Now, let's see. I almost lost one of my Eagle cohorts. As you can see, the very first one there was having a pretty rough time, and oddly enough, my legionary cohorts were doing a little bit better, but I guess they were in a better position. Alright. And also, I guess you could say it was a bit more difficult for the Romans to fight in the forest too. I mean, if you think about how long the Romans had been around during this time, and so they were chopping down trees for ships, and so you wouldn't find forests like this in Italy. And so when they fought here, I mean, it's a bit of a different environment. Now, I did notice that the testudo was not performing correctly. I was probably losing just as many men as if I was to not use it, which was a bit troublesome, but hey. Alright, so at this point, we're doing a massive rout. I'm sacrificing some men to fight here, but my Eagle cohorts are about to make it. I mean, these are brave men who have no choice, but we'll just call them brave men to make it sound a little bit better. Alright, so we have won this fight here. I managed to get down all 3 of my Eagle cohorts under legendary difficulty, which I can tell you something. It can really have you on the edge of your seat, on the edge of your seat, which I guess it has to do with feet too. Alright, let's see. Now we've made it. That was a very intense battle. We managed to kill so many, though. It really baffles me how they could summon up so many men in these battles during this time period. But they really had things down to a science. Let's watch this now.
May Nerio give strength to those we left behind. No one knows. Even fewer care.
Dang. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this battle. We are now done. We gained our achievements, and I shall see all of you later. Until then.